And then he goes on to discuss immigration to some extent. Since taking office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration crackdown in American history. And we quickly achieved the lowest numbers of illegal border crossers ever recorded. True, but that began last year. The media and our friends, he says, in the Democratic Party keep saying we needed new legislation to secure the border, but it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
I don't know if this is breaking news, but it is sartorial news of a certain kind. It has been conveyed to me that Elon Musk is in attendance. We knew that, but he's in a suit and tie. Nancy, you want to break that down? No.
I'd love to. I'll take any and all fashion news tonight. I'm happy to make that my bailiwick. So Elon Musk, the reason that that is notable is because he has been showing up in the Oval Office in a T-shirt. Sometimes it says tech support. Sometimes it's emblazoned with the names of one of his companies. He's been wearing a baseball cap and you know, saying I'm just the hired help here, basically working on computers. And that became especially notable the other day when there was a focus placed on President Zelensky's
not wearing a suit in the Oval Office. Scott McFarland, I want to go to you in the House chamber. What are you seeing? What is emerging as the chamber fills up and the president's about 10 minutes away?
Yeah, Musk's arrival in the upper-level seating area was noticed among people in the chamber. Not much applause. A few people turned around to notice him. On the House floor itself, you see a number of those long red ties among the House Republican members and a few former members who are out here taking the opportunity and the floor privileges to lobby a little bit. I just got a text message, though, from freshman House Democrat Sarah McBride, her first time ever major at this type of presidential address to Congress. I asked her what the mood was like down there, and her text message was 2 words. The first one was an expletive. The second word was weird. This is a different kind of presidential address, and perhaps by design by the president.
We'll let imaginations run rampant with the expletive, but weird. Okay, we'll take that on board from a Democrat who's trying to take all of this in. Nancy, it's my sense that as the speech goes on, and if there are references in length to the Department of Government Efficiency or Elon Musk, the cutaways will be revealing.
Yes.
Especially on the Republican side, because if in fact there is some unsettled Republican political attitude about where this is going, how it's affecting their constituents back home, those facial expressions, how much they do or don't applaud, might be a sub-theme for the evening as it plays out.
Right. And, you know, you've seen Republicans already trying to walk this delicate line. They see the president showing huge support for Elon Musk and what he's doing. They don't want to get on the wrong side of that. Interestingly, when it comes to something
there he is, aforementioned Elon Musk.
Blue tie, not red tie for him. When it comes to tariffs, interestingly, Republicans have been more willing to break with President Trump and say that they're not sure that this is a good idea. In fact, John Thune, the Republican leader in the Senate, was asked today whether he thinks it's good policy, and he essentially said, well, it's a policy that he is pursuing, damning with faint praise. And so I'll be watching to see how Republicans react when he talks about not only DOGE, but tariffs as well.
And Ed, the imperative that the president has invested Elon Musk with is dramatically reduce the size of the federal workforce and reimagine how it actually functions. Yeah. And it has been said to me, and there's plenty of reporting on this, that artificial intelligence in Elon Musk's mind will take the place of some form of the federal workforce. Will just take over jobs that people are currently doing now. Based on your understanding of the federal workforce and its systems, some of them antiquated, is that even conceptually possible?
There are some functions, certainly somewhere in the annals of the various departments, where maybe more automation will work. But each of these departments and agencies has constituencies on Capitol Hill that are going to be worried about those functions and about the people who do them right now and who may or may not yet be as supportive or trustworthy of artificial intelligence. And so if he tries to implement big changes like that, we could see them have to pull them back, like he's changed these firing and layoff policies due to court orders or because of political pressure. I wouldn't be surprised if in these conversations with congressional Republicans in the next 2 days, this comes up, and we'll see to what extent he signals what it is that he thinks could be done through artificial intelligence, that he has gone after the Social Security Administration and the Internal Revenue Service as aggressively as he has would suggest that maybe he thinks there's a way for you to file your tax returns and a machine to spit out the refund that you're owed. But do Americans trust artificial intelligence to handle their tax information?
Right.
Are we there yet?
And
that's probably a conversation for Congress to have.
And are they comfortable with the phraseology expressed by Elon Musk to Joe Rogan that Social Security
is a Ponzi scheme?
Is a Ponzi scheme.
Which is obviously something Democrats have seized on and probably will continue to as the election season heats up next year.
And Robert, as you think about this, it is worth beholding President of the United States investing so much power visibly and without any hesitation in the world's richest man to sort of just go roaming through the federal bureaucracy to find ways to do whatever the president has directed him to accomplish.
It is unusual, but it's also, as President Trump has long functioned. We just saw his family there, Donald Trump Jr.
Full family going to be there tonight.
And we saw Eric Trump. He has run a family organization founded by his father, Fred Trump, for decades. His family's still intimately involved in the business. And it's always been an orbit of family and confidants.
Does it feel to you like Elon is almost becoming part of that family?
President Trump has often told people privately he doesn't trust most anyone.
Outside of his family.
Outside of his family. Right. And Elon Musk is someone who is a disruptor, and we have seen throughout his political career and his business career, he likes bringing in disruptors who are useful to his own project. Doesn't mean they have a long-standing place, but it means something.
To escort the President of the United States into the chamber, the following.
Yes, what's going on right now, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, you see J.D. Vance next to him in the seat reserved for the Vice President, is assigning a ceremonial duty to an escort committee made up of lots of members of the Senate and the House to go get the president and to ceremonially escort him to the House chamber. That's what's going on now. We heard as much as we need to hear of that. Ed O'Keefe, this idea of potential political blowback. I've talked to several Republicans who are, one, excited about the prospect of what Elon is finding and the savings that could be accrued, but also becoming somewhat disturbingly aware that when it comes to politics and government structures, Elon Musk doesn't know a lot and doesn't want to learn a lot, that he is driven entirely and motivated principally by data and what he can find in the data.
Yeah, that they say he's so data-driven that it makes it harder for these lawmakers who have to go home to constituents to explain what it is he's trying to do. And I think one of the things that people who defend government structure or the federal personnel or who have questioned the DOGE project have repeatedly pointed out is that what the Trump team may not have fully appreciated is that 85% of the federal workforce lives far beyond what we call the DMV, the District, Maryland, and Virginia.
Precisely.
In Cincinnati, in Boise, in parts of Texas, rural and urban. And all of these lawmakers are starting to hear from people who go, how is it that my neighbor who spent the last 20 years at USDA suddenly doesn't have a job?
Right. Three of the largest concentrations, California, Texas, and Florida. Scott McFarland, back to you inside the House chamber. What do you see?
You're going to see Marcy Kaptur of Toledo, Ohio, on the center aisle, shaking Trump's hand or being near Trump when he enters. She is wearing the blue and yellow Ukrainian supportive colors. She has a huge Ukrainian-American population in her Northwest Ohio district. And oh, by the way, right near Kash Patel, the FBI director, is Elon Musk. Quite a variety of people in the president's guest box here in the upper level of the chamber.
And Scott, as we look at the wide shot of the House floor, you mentioned earlier the pink blazers. Remind our audience, if they're just tuning in now, what those pink blazers are meant to signify. The pool camera will rotate back to that, but let us know.
That's the House Democratic Women's Caucus, a unified visual element that is a protest statement, they say, against President Trump. Among those wearing it, Nancy Pelosi, the former House Speaker.
You don't protest.
And Scott, very quickly, what's the atmosphere on the Republican side?
Full House capacity crowd. I see no empty seats, and I see the joy that comes with full control of Washington. But we'll see if the joy is still there in 10 days when that government shutdown deadline hits, and they are still fractured as a conference about what to do about it.
And Scott, only you can tell us this. How many empty seats on the Democratic side of the aisle?
See about 7 to 10. We'll wonder if there will be seat fillers that are used for that, but I think we'll have about 10 to 12 on second view, empty seats on the Democratic caucus side. That includes major Northern Virginia Democrats. We'll see about 7 to 10. We'll wonder if there will be seat fillers that are used for that, but I think we'll have about 10 to 12 on second view, empty seats on the Democratic caucus side. That includes major Northern Virginia Democrats. We'll see about 7 to 10. We'll wonder if there will be seat fillers that are used for that, but I think we'll have about 10 to 12 on second view, empty seats on the Democratic caucus side. That includes major Northern Virginia Democrats. We'll see about 7 to 10. We'll wonder if there will be seat fillers that are used for that, but I think we'll have about 10 to 12 on second view, empty seats on the Democratic caucus side. That includes major...
My colleagues Maurice Dubois and John Dickerson take over. That's next. You're watching CBS News 24/7. Thanks for doing that.
CBS Mornings is clearly fun.
Money saving. Dollar Jill's here to tell us what it means for you.
Clearly delish.
So what's on the menu today?
Clearly, CBS Mornings weekdays at 7 on CBS.
What happens when the world's best journalists come together?
Write a prescription for the healing of America.
We're retired and this is our paradise. Now it's gone.
You get the stories of America every night. You get the all-new CBS Evening News every weeknight.
This is CBS.
I had progressively fallen deeper into the world of online sports betting.
The risk is the rush.
What do you think is driving the spike in popularity?
I think it's legality.
If it's legal, I'm going to use it. There are ways to bet when you are 18.
We've created an epidemic of child gambling.
You can't walk into a male dormitory in a college campus without sports betting happening.
It's America's most neglected problem.
I used sports betting as a way to escape, when in reality, I'm choosing self-destruction. Whatever I had left, it was gone.
The purpose of the industry is to get you to play to extinction. And that means until all your money is gone.
Go to the ends of the earth. We'll hit the heights. And reach for the stars.
Star power. I like it.
Ta-da!
I want to be part of this.
Because there's always something new under the sun on CBS Sunday morning.
You've probably heard of the NCIS from the hit TV series, but we're about to take you inside its real-life work. Listen to 48 Hours NCIS early and ad-free on the 48 Hours Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts.
Okay, let's go.
You guys good?
Start at the beginning.
All right, we good?
Keep going. It's the clock. It's ticking.
Off we go.
60 minutes. Is this what you want?
60 minutes.
60 minutes!
It's time for 60 Minutes, Sundays on CBS.
Well, let me start with this.
This really
Have you told the government?
Did any of that make sense?
What's your response?
You want me to just
What's wrong with that argument?
What have you learned?
Do you know why?
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 It's time for 60 Minutes, Sunday on CBS.
This is CBS.
This is a CBS News special report. Donald Trump's presidential address to Congress.
Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois.
I'm John Dickerson. President Trump is about to speak to Congress and an audience of millions watching at home.
It is his first address to a joint session of the House and Senate since he began his second term in January. And a busy start it's been. He's only been in office 6 weeks now, and it's set in motion actions that aim to overturn decades of domestic and international policies.
Just today, he increased tariffs on our 3 biggest trade partners, Canada, Mexico, and China. Last week, the president berated the president of Ukraine in an Oval Office meeting as insufficiently grateful and saying he wasn't ready for peace.
Tonight, the theme of the president's address is the renewal of the American dream. He is expected to focus on the economy, his accomplishments during his first month and a half in office, and border security.
And while this will look like the annual State of the Union address, it is not that. The president is following a tradition started in the modern era by Ronald Reagan to speak to a joint session in the first weeks of a new administration.
And we're joined now by Margaret Brennan, Face the Nation moderators. We look at these scenes here inside the chamber. Margaret, a president who is extremely confident is about to stride into that chamber tonight.
More confident than he was during his first term. Truly, he is entering that chamber tonight having dealt many shocks to the system at home and abroad. We may get a few more tonight. But just overnight, as you were just saying, John, he has launched this trade war against our largest trading partners. That is a big bet that consumers will tolerate some degree of financial pain, despite the fact that he was elected on this platform of causing less economic pain than people had been experiencing through inflation during the last 4 years.
And fixing the economy on day one.
Exactly. But it takes time. He'll say that give him 6 to 12 months before he owns this economy. That's his approach. So he'll characterize this as fixing the wrong still. There are still massive job cuts that are working its way through the system across the country. We don't yet know how that's going to feel, but he's going to argue that Elon Musk, who's leading that effort in many ways, is doing necessary work, that it's necessary pain. We're looking at a chamber here that has largely, when it comes to Republican lawmakers, not impeded him in any way. And for the Democratic lawmakers, any attempts they've made have been largely unsuccessful. So he feels pretty unconstrained. He will have to ask them, though, for money. Congress controls those purse strings, and you'll hear him ask about that when it comes to funding his priorities at the border.
And he's also, and we're going to get around to this later because the Congress is hard to work with there. We see the First Lady entering. First Lady Melania Trump, who was just on the Hill.
And right next to her was Steve Witkoff, a dear friend of the president's who's now taken on a large role in this administration as Mideast envoy.
Margaret, the president's he's saying, judge me in a little while on the economy, but he's moving quickly on issues like Ukraine, right? He's not saying let that go slowly. It'll be interesting tonight to see which things he says, well, it'll take me a while, other things he's moving quickly. What's the latest on the set two between him and the president of Ukraine?
Well, that's going to be watched very closely tonight by our adversaries like China, who want to know how much maneuvering room they have, given the room given to Vladimir Putin, but also by the allies and partners. Ukraine's ambassador, just to give you a physical manifestation of this, John, is not up there with the First Lady as she was in the years past. She is down with the rest of the diplomatic corps. She is present. We know President Trump says he still wants to bring ultimately peace between Russia and Ukraine, but that is at the moment not happening. No negotiations underway.
And there we see the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, returning to familiar climes since he was a senator there from Florida. Walking down, the cabinet is arriving. Weijia Zhang is at the White House. I want to bring her in. Weijia, what can we expect to hear from this from the president in these remarks?
John, I've been talking to White House sources all day here, and they say this is going to be a totally Trumpian speech when it comes to the tone. Even late this evening, he was huddling with his team and his speech writers to make last-minute edits because this is all going to be, they say, in his voice. And so the president has organized this speech into 4 very distinctive parts. He will start off talking about all the things he considers to be his accomplishments and then pivot to the economy. And we were told that he was going to talk about the, quote, mess that he inherited. And now we have excerpts to show what that means. Because, John, I have several excerpts here from his speech, and he will name check former President Biden several times. As an example, he will say Joe Biden, especially that the price of eggs get out of control, and we are working hard to get it back down. The next part of his speech, he will make a direct plea to Congress to say that despite all of the things he has accomplished on the southern border, they need more border security funding, which you may remember a bipartisan bill to provide just that ultimately failed under the Biden administration. And then he will talk about foreign policy. And John, in these excerpts that the White House has provided, he does talk about Ukraine. He is going to say, I am tirelessly working to end the savage conflict in Ukraine, and talk about the billions of dollars that the U.S. has already sent. And another dig at Biden, saying Biden has authorized more money in this fight than Europe has spent. But what we don't know is whether he'll break any news on where things currently stand, because of course we are watching this back and forth between the U.S. and Ukraine, between Trump and Zelensky, who issued a lengthy statement, stopping short of apologizing for what we saw in the Oval Office, but saying we need to get things back on course, John. And so there's so many things to watch here, but we are told again that this is going to be a big speech, and the president is going to have a lot of fun.
Okay, Weijia Jiang at the White House, thank you so much. As we watch as the cabinet members, there's RFK Jr., Health Secretary, and Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, and others making their way in right now. Let's go to Major Garrett for your expectations tonight. Major, I'm wondering in particular about foreign policy and upending the whole world order. Any thoughts on that?
Certainly, Maurice. As Margaret said, President Trump is much more aggressive and full of confidence this second time around as compared to the first time around. The White House has said the theme for tonight is a renewal of the American dream. I would say another theme is the president is essentially telling the country and anyone watching overseas, I am the voice of volatility, because volatility changes the status quo. President Trump has made it pretty clear, both internally with domestic politics here, whether it's diversity, equity, inclusion, transgender rights, cryptocurrency, immigration policy, jawboning the Federal Reserve, that he is a fan of volatility because it changes people's perspective. It rattles people's cages. And he wants that volatility extended not to our enemies. Hardly any discouraging words from President Trump about Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping. Lots of volatility with our closest geographic neighbors, Canada and Mexico, in the form of tariffs. Panama, talking about the Panama Canal, Greenland, and if not disparaging, certainly undermining some of the underpinnings of the transatlantic alliance and NATO. All of what Trump has done in the first 6 weeks is press the envelope on volatility to change people's perspective, change the conversation, keep him at the center of it, because he will tell the American people in so many words, when volatility occurs, that strengthens my ability to negotiate. And if you trust me to negotiate, all will end well. I'm not here to predict all will end well, but that will be the subtext of the president's remarks.
Major Garrett, thank you so much. Now we'd like to bring in Chief White House Correspondent Nancy Cordes. Nancy, hefty new tariffs on imported goods from Canada, Mexico, and China. Those went into effect today. China said it will retaliate. Canada is already hitting back. But now this afternoon, the Commerce Secretary said that, well, maybe I've been on the phone and maybe those tariffs will go away. Where are we on this?
Right. Policy moves fast in Trump world, sometimes from day to day, sometimes from hour to hour. And the Commerce Secretary now says that these new tariffs that were just imposed less than 24 hours ago could be lifted tomorrow. If President Trump is happy with what he's hearing from the leaders of Mexico and Canada. Is it that, or is it because the Dow fell 1,300 points in 2 days, and even some Republicans expressed alarm and said they didn't think that these tariffs were going to work. They felt that they would raise prices. You started hearing from big box retailers like Target and Best Buy saying they were going to have to raise their prices. Hard to say what triggered this, but we now know that it's looking like President Trump, for the second time in just about a month, could be stepping back from tariffs that he has wanted to impose on Canada and Mexico. It hasn't happened yet, so we can't say it's a guarantee, but this is something that will probably come as a big relief to members of his own party.
Okay, Nancy Cordes, thank you so much. Again, President running a little bit behind here. We will talk now to senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe with the latest from our CBS News polling. Ed, we've been looking at these same polls, and we have seen warning signs for the president when it comes to the economy in particular.
That's right, Maurice. He has a 51 to 49% approval rating right now, so evenly split, it would seem, amongst Americans. And when you ask them the question, what do you want to hear about tonight? Overwhelmingly, they want to hear him talk about lowering prices, and that's because, in part, 77% of Americans in our most recent CBS News poll say that their incomes are not keeping up with inflation. They also want to hear about his plans for Medicare and Medicaid amid conversation among Republicans about revamping that program. Less about things like cutting government spending, which, of course, has gotten such outsized attention given Elon Musk and that Department of Government Efficiency that have been slashing government operations across the federal government. Among those watching tonight, important to remember and think about who he's addressing. 54% of those planning to tune in tonight are Republican, therefore favor the president. That's almost the inverse of what we saw just a year ago when it was predominantly Democrats who supported President Biden who were tuning in and Republicans who were tuning out. So he knows that he has a mostly friendly audience tuning in to hear what he's been up to, which is part of why we know he's expected to tout these early moves that he's been making over the last 6 weeks. The other thing that's interesting about what Americans are perceiving about what he talks about tonight, 82% think, for example, that the economy should be a high priority for the president, but just 36% of Americans think the president's actually prioritizing that a lot. This is a confusing box when you first look at it, but what you realize here is what people are saying is, I want to hear more about the economy and inflation. I don't hear the president talking enough about that, which is telling why the White House today was so insistent to all of us. He will talk about the economy. He will talk about tariffs. He will talk about inflation. They see our numbers. They see other numbers that suggest people still very concerned about issues of dollars and cents.
And of course, Ed O'Keefe, the peril for presidents taking their eye off the ball in the early part of their presidency when they were elected to fix the economy, Bill Clinton being one example, Barack Obama being the other. So there is some historical tough waters there for the presidents who ignore the economy. CBS News chief Washington analyst Bob Costa has been talking to his sources. Bob, what are your sources telling you? And picking up on Ed's point about this being a conversation with Republicans, not just Republican voters, but of course Republicans in the hall he'll be speaking to.
Great to be with you, John and Maurice and Margaret. When I talk to sources close to President Trump, they say when he reflects on this speech tonight, he's thinking back to that inaugural address just down the hall that was held inside the Capitol. And he had all of those billionaire CEOs flanking him. That was a projection of power. Now, just a few weeks later, with his address to a joint session of Congress, he wants to project his power in front of this Republican-controlled Congress.
Bob, do you know if this is going to be a long speech?
Mr.
The president
Speaker,
has, whoops,
the President
let's wait.
of the United States.
Here we go. Let me know if you can hear me, please. You're coming and you're left.
Rituals are somewhat familiar. That was the Sergeant of Arms, and of course people lining up, members of Congress who get there early so they can shake the president's hand. Bob Costa, back to you as we see the president go through a long handshaking session here. Back to your point about what your reporting was telling you.
What we see here, based on people close to the president, is a commander-in-chief who's totally at ease with the power he has won with this second term. It was just a little under 10 years ago he came down that escalator in New York. Now he's coming down inside of the House chamber to the lectern, and he has the Senate and the House behind him. He has much of Wall Street behind him as uncomfortable as they are with tariffs. He has Silicon Valley, epitomized by Elon Musk, behind him in many respects. The challenge for him, I'm told by those close to him, is just how far can President Trump push his power at this moment. He has overcome an assassination attempt. He was convicted of a crime last year in New York, faced civil, criminal charges, a federal investigation, now back in the White House. Can he really reframe the world, global politics and domestic politics, in his image? This speech tonight is not just a speech, I'm told. It's a statement about who he is and what kind of historic presidency he is trying to mount this time around.
And Bob, when you frame it that way, what a journey it has been since coming down that escalator in Trump Tower. Let's go now to Scott McFarland. He is inside the chamber. Scott, give us a feeling for what that's like right now.
You can see from my vantage point, Maurice, the Democrats largely are not standing. They're seated, they're not clapping, they're not moving as President Trump walks towards the dais. Some of them you'll see, Maurice and John, some of the House Democrats are wearing these very bright pink blazers, members of the Democratic Women's Caucus. They say that is a unified visual of protest against President Trump. There'll also be a few empty seats on the House Democratic side. Several members are sitting this out, saying they can't be in the same room with Donald Trump at this moment. This is his first time in this House chamber speaking to Congress since the January 6th riot by Trump supporters. I'll also note this. Up here in the top level with me, Elon Musk wearing a suit in the guest box. He's standing and clapping next to the FBI director, Kash Patel, and members of the Trump family. They're seated to the president's left when he gets up to the dais and begins speaking.
We see the president there speaking to the combatant commanders. You saw him shaking hands with the Supreme Court justices. Worth noting tonight the amount of power that is in the Capitol all at once. We are told that the designated survivor tonight is VA Secretary, Veterans Affairs Secretary Doug Collins, who is in a secure location, according to our Olivia Rinaldi, because certainly this is a focus of those who wish us ill will.
And just as they go through another round of applause, Caitlin Huey-Burns is up on the Hill. Caitlin, what are Democrats doing in preparation for tonight?
Well, after this election, Democrats have been trying to figure their way out of the wilderness, and they've been hearing an earful from their constituents back home who want them to do more, do what they can to oppose the president. Remember, they are in the minority and are limited legislatively in what they can do. But the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, urged Democrats to show up today to show their strength in opposition to the president. Remember, it just takes 3 Republicans to defect in order for Democrats to blow everything up here. The majority that Republicans have is indeed fragile. Democrats are trying to hold it together in opposition to this president, and we'll see how they do it tonight.
Okay, so the speaker is supposed to introduce the president. See if that happens as he basks in the moment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a great honor. Thank you very much. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, the First Lady of the United States, members of the United States Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow citizens, America is back. 6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started. I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before. The American dream is unstoppable, and our country is on the verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again. There's never been anything like it. The presidential election of November 5th was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades. We won all 7 swing states, giving us an electoral college victory of 312 votes. We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country.
People pissed off.
And won counties in our country, 2,700 to 525, on a map that reads almost completely red for Republican. Now, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. In fact, it's an astonishing record, 27-point swing, the most ever.
True fact. You gotta live with it. It is what it is now, so you just gotta live with it, and you gotta just be appreciative.
Likewise, small business optimism saw its single largest one-month gain ever recorded, a 41-point jump.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session.
Straight facts. There we go. You're going to be moved out of your seat, bro. Good Lord. It's time to fight and listen and look. Make notice, but don't do over and over and over notice. There's security right there.
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
That is Congressman Green of Texas, 77 years old. He is being escorted out of the chamber at the order of the Speaker of the House because he was not maintaining decorum during the president's speech.
Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions, a record to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it. In fact, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation. By many. And what makes it even more impressive is that, do you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that? How about that? I don't know about that list, but we'll take it. Within hours of taking the oath of office, I declared a national emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever. They heard my words and they chose not to come. Much easier that way. In comparison, under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history, there were hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from mental institutions and insane asylums, were released into our country. Who would want to do that? This is my 5th such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way. So Democrats sitting before me, for just this one night, why not join us in celebrating so many incredible wins for America? For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again. Every day, my administration is fighting to deliver the change America needs to bring a future that America deserves, and we're doing it. This is a time for big dreams and bold action. Upon taking office, I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid. I terminated the ridiculous Green New Scam. I withdrew from the unfair Paris Climate Accord, which was costing us trillions of dollars that other countries were not paying. I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization. And I also withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council. We ended all of Biden's environmental restrictions that were making our country far less safe and totally unaffordable. And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto workers and companies from economic destruction. To unshackle our economy, I have directed that for every one new regulation, 10 old regulations must be eliminated, just like I did in my very successful first term. And in that first term, we set records on ending unnecessary rules and regulations like no other president had done before. We ordered all federal workers to return to the office. They will either show up for work in person or be removed from their job. And we've ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good. And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back. And 2 days ago, I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America. I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And likewise, I renamed, for a great president, William McKinley, Mount McKinley again. Beautiful Alaska. We love Alaska. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke no longer. We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. Very important.
They gave a lot of big boobs, Dolly Parton jobs.
You should be hired based on merit. And the Supreme Court, in a brave and very powerful decision, has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have removed the poison of critical race theory from our public schools, and I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
put up those little signs against it.
I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports. Three years ago, Peyton McNabb was an all-star high school athlete, one of the best, preparing for a future in college sports. But when her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male, he smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face, causing traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side and ending her athletic career. It was a shot like she's never seen before. She's never seen anything like it. Peyton is here tonight in the gallery, and Peyton, from now on, schools will kick the men off the girls' team, or they will lose all federal funding. And if you really want to see numbers, just take a look at what happened in the women's boxing, weightlifting, track and field, swimming, or cycling, where a male recently finished a long-distance race 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of a woman for a new record by 5 hours. Broke the record by 5 hours. It's demeaning for women, and it's very bad for our country. We're not going to put up with it any longer. What I have just described is only a small fraction of the common sense revolution that is now, because of us, sweeping the entire world. Common sense has become a common theme, and we will never go back. Never. Never going to let that happen. Among my very highest priorities is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families. As you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare. Their policies drove up energy prices, pushed up grocery costs, and drove the necessities of life out of reach for millions and millions of Americans. They've never had anything like it. We suffered the worst inflation in 48 years, but perhaps even in the history of our country. They're not sure. As president, I'm fighting every day to reverse this damage and make America affordable again. Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control. The egg price is out of control, and we're working hard to get it back down. Secretary, do a good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. Do a good job. A major focus of our fight to defeat inflation is rapidly reducing the cost of energy. The previous administration cut the number of new oil and gas leases by 95%, slowed pipeline construction to a halt, and closed more than 100 power plants. We are opening up many of those power plants right now. And frankly, we have never seen anything like it. That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency. As you've heard me say many times, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation on earth, and by far. And now I fully authorize the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill. My administration is also working on a gigantic natural gas pipeline in Alaska, among the largest in the world, where Japan, South Korea, and other nations want to be our partner with investments of trillions of dollars each. There's never been anything like that one. It will be truly spectacular. It's all set to go. The permitting is gotten. And later this week, I will also take historic action to dramatically expand production of critical minerals and rare earths here in the USA. To further combat inflation, we will not only be reducing the cost of energy, but will be ending the flagrant waste of taxpayer dollars. And to that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency. DOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps. Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight. Thank you, Elon. He's working very hard. He didn't need this. He didn't need this. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that. Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender. This is real. $32 million for a left-wing propaganda operation in Moldova. $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. $20 million for the Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. It's a program. $20 million for a program. $1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her? A $3.5 million consulting contract for lavish fish monitoring. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City. He's a real estate developer. He's done very well. $250,000 to increase vegan local climate action innovation in Zambia. $42 million for social and behavior change in Uganda. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia, $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well with learning. We know what we're doing. We should use it ourselves. And $101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education, the most ever paid, nothing even like it. Under the Trump administration, all of these scams, and they're far worse, but I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about them. They're so bad. Many more have been found out and exposed and swiftly terminated by a group of very intelligent, mostly young people, headed up by Elon, and we appreciate it. We found hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud. And we've taken back the money and reduced our debt to fight inflation and other things.
Thank God.
Taking back a lot of that money. We got it just in time. This is just the beginning. The Government Accountability Office, a federal government office, has estimated annual fraud of over $500 billion in our nation, and we are working very hard to stop it. We're going to. We're also identifying shocking levels of incompetence and probable fraud in the Social Security program for our seniors, and that our seniors and people that we love rely on. Believe it or not, government databases list 4.7 million Social Security members from people aged 100 to 109 years old. It lists 3.6 million people from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129. 3.9 million people from ages 130 to 139. 3.5 million people from ages 140 to 149. And money is being paid to many of them, and we're searching right now. In fact, Pam, good luck. Good luck. You're going to find it. But a lot of money is paid out to people because it just keeps getting paid and paid, and nobody does, and it really hurts
to all these people
Social Security and hurts our country. 1.3 million people from ages 150 to 159, and over 130,000 people, according to the Social Security databases, are age over 160 years old. We have a healthier country than I thought, Bobby.
I don't know if it's true or not. Is he telling the truth? Like, is there really people that are collecting money that are 150 years? I mean, I believe that people could be doing some crazy shit on the inside.
Including, to finish, 1,039 people between the ages of 220 and 229. One person between the age of 240 and 249, and one person is listed at 360 years of age. More than 100 years. More than 100 years older than our country. But we're going to find out where that money's going, and it's not going to be pretty. By slashing all of the fraud, waste, and theft we can find, we will defeat inflation, bring down mortgage rates, lower car payments and grocery prices, protect our seniors, and put more money in the pockets of American families. And today, interest rates took a beautiful drop, big, beautiful drop. It's about time. And in the near future, I want to do what has not been done in 24 years, balance the federal budget. We're going to balance it. With that goal in mind, we have developed in great detail what we are calling the Gold Card, which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship. It's like the green card, but better and more sophisticated. And these people will have to pay tax in our country. They won't have to pay tax from where they came. The money that they've made, you wouldn't want to do that, but they have to pay tax, create jobs. They'll also be taking people out of colleges and paying for them so that we can keep them in our country instead of having them being forced out. Number one, at the top school, as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success for a company out there. So while we take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people, the Democrats, the Biden administration, the open border insane policies that you've allowed to destroy our country, we will now bring in brilliant, hardworking, job-creating people. They're going to pay a lot of money, and we're going to reduce our debt with that money. Americans have given us a mandate for bold and profound change. For nearly 100 years, the federal bureaucracy has grown until it has crushed our freedoms, ballooned our deficits, and held back America's potential in every possible way. The nation founded by pioneers and risk-takers now drowns under millions and millions of pages of regulations and debt. Approvals that should take 10 days to get instead take 10 years, 15 years, and even 20 years before you're rejected. Meanwhile, we have hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have not been showing up to work. My administration will reclaim power from this unaccountable bureaucracy, and we will restore true democracy to America again. Any federal bureaucrat who resists this change will be removed from office immediately. Because we are draining the swamp. It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over.
Those people on the left are so pissed off. They're like just pissed.
And the next phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody. They're in there. They're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing you a big favor by telling you that. But I know this group is going to be voting for the tax.
Study a whole lot of veterans and they need life plans. More veterans that I know life plans.
Thank you. It's a very, very big part of our plan. We had tremendous success in our first term with it. A very big part of our plan. We're seeking permanent income tax cuts all across the board. And to get urgently needed relief to Americans hit especially hard by inflation, I'm calling for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors. And I also want to make interest payments on car loans tax deductible, but only if the car is made in America. And by the way, we're going to have growth in the auto industry like nobody's ever seen. Plants are opening up all over the place. Deals are being made. Never seen. That's a combination of the election win and tariffs. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? That, along with our other policies, will allow our auto industry to absolutely boom. It's going to boom. Spoke to the majors today, all three, the top people, and they're so excited. In fact, already numerous car companies have announced that they will be building massive automobile plants in America, with Honda just announcing a new plant in Indiana, one of the largest anywhere in the world. And this has taken place since our great victory on November 5th, a date which will hopefully go down as one of the most important in the history of our country. In addition, as part of our tax cuts, we want to cut taxes on domestic production and all manufacturing. And just as we did before, we will provide 100% expensing. It will be retroactive to January 20th, 2025, and it was one of the main reasons why our tax cuts were so successful in our first term, giving us the most successful economy in the history of our country, first term. We had a great first term. If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea, but that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was, and so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before. I did it with China, and I did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it because there was so much money they couldn't do anything about it. We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer. Much has been said over the last 3 months about Mexico and Canada, but we have very large deficits with both of them. But even more importantly, they've allowed fentanyl to come into our country at levels never seen before, killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens and many very young, beautiful people, destroying families. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They are, in effect, receiving subsidies of hundreds of billions of dollars. We pay subsidies to Canada and to Mexico of hundreds of billions of dollars, and the United States will not be doing that any longer. We're not going to do it any longer. Thanks to our America First policies we're putting into place, we have had $1.7 trillion of new investment in America in just the past few weeks. The combination of the election and our economic policies that people of SoftBank, one of the most brilliant anywhere in the world, announced a $200 billion investment. OpenAI and Oracle, Larry Ellison, announced $500 billion investment, which they wouldn't have done if Kamala had won. Apple announced $500 billion investment. Tim Cook called me. He said, I cannot spend it fast enough. It's going to be much higher than that, I believe. They'll be building their plants here instead of in China. And just yesterday, Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, most powerful in the world, has a tremendous amount, 97% of the market, announced a $165 billion investment to build the most powerful chips on earth right here in the USA. And we're not giving them any money. Your CHIPS Act is a horrible, horrible thing. We give hundreds of billions of dollars, and it doesn't mean a thing. They take our money and they don't spend it. All that meant to them, we're giving them no money. All that was important to them was they didn't want to pay the tariffs, so they came and they're building, and many other companies are coming. We don't have to give them money. We just want to protect our businesses and our people. And they will come because they won't have to pay tariffs if they build in America. So it's very amazing. You should get rid of the CHIP Act, and whatever's left over, Mr. Speaker, you should use it to reduce debt or any other reason you want to. Our new trade policy will also be great for the American farmer. I love the farmer. Who will now be selling into our home market, the USA, because nobody is going to be able to compete with you. Because those goods that come in from other countries and companies, they're really in a bad position in so many different ways. They're uninspected. They may be very dirty and disgusting, and they come in and they pour in, and they hurt our American farmers. The tariffs will go on agricultural product coming into America, and our farmers, starting on April 2nd, it may be a little bit of an adjustment period. We had that before when I made the deal with China, $50 billion of purchases, and I said, just bear with me, and they did. They did. Probably have to bear with me again, and this will be even better. That was great. The problem with it was that Biden didn't enforce it. He didn't enforce it. $50 billion of purchases, and we were doing great, but Biden did not enforce it, and it hurt our farmers. But our farmers are going to have a field day right now. So to our farmers, have a lot of fun. I love you too. I love you too. It's all going to happen. And I have also imposed a 25% tariff on foreign aluminum, copper, lumber, and steel, because if we don't have, as an example, steel and lots of other things, we don't have a military, and frankly, we just won't have a country very long. Here today is a proud American steelworker, fantastic person from Decatur, Alabama, Jeff Denard. Has been working at the same steel plant for 27 years in a job that has allowed him to serve as the captain of his local volunteer fire department, raise 7 children with his beautiful wife, Nicole, and over the years provide a loving home for more than 40 foster children. So great, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Stories like Jeff's remind us that tariffs are not just about protecting American jobs. They're about protecting the soul of our country. Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again, and it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much. No, you're not. Oh. And look where Biden took us, very low, the lowest we've ever been. Jeff, I want to thank you very much. And I also want to recognize another person who has devoted herself to foster care community. She works so hard on it. A very loving person, our magnificent First Lady of the United States. Melania's work has yielded incredible results, helping prepare our nation's future leaders as they enter the workforce. Our First Lady is joined by two impressive young women, very impressive. Haley Ferguson, who benefited from the First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative and is poised to complete her education and become a teacher. And Elliston Berry, who became a victim of an illicit deepfake image produced by a peer. With Elliston's help, the Senate just passed the Take It Down Act, and this is so important. Thank you very much, John. John Thune, thank you. Stand up, John. Thank you, John. Thank you all very much. Thank you. And thank you to John Thune and the Senate. Great job. To criminalize the publication of such images online is a terrible, terrible thing. And once it passes the House, I look forward to signing that bill into law. Thank you. And I'm going to use that bill for myself, too, if you don't mind. Because nobody gets treated worse than I do online. Nobody. That's great. Thank you very much to the Senate. Thank you. But if we truly care about protecting Americans' children, no step is more crucial than securing America's borders. Over the past 4 years, 21 million people poured into the United States. Many of them were murderers, human traffickers, gang members, and other criminals from the streets of dangerous cities all throughout the world. Because of Joe Biden's insane and very dangerous open border policies, they are now strongly embedded in our country, but we are getting them out and getting them out fast. And I want to thank Tom Homan and Christy. I want to thank you and Paul of Border Patrol. I want to thank you. What a job they've all done. Everybody, Border Patrol, ICE, law enforcement in general is incredible. We have to take care of our law enforcement. Have to.
100%. Still hard to fathom.
Last year,
how many people came
a brilliant 22-year-old nursing student named Laken Riley, the best in her class, admired by everybody, went out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia. That morning, Laken was viciously attacked, assaulted, beaten, brutalized, and horrifically murdered. Laken was stolen from us by a savage illegal alien gang member who was arrested while trespassing across Biden's open southern border and then set loose into the United States under the heartless policies of that failed administration. It was indeed a failed administration. He had then been arrested and released in a Democrat-run sanctuary city, a disaster, before ending the life of this beautiful young angel. With us this evening are Laken's beloved mother, Allison, and her sister, Lauren. Last year, I told Laken's grieving parents that we would ensure their daughter would not have died in vain. That's why the very first bill I signed into law as your 47th president mandates the detention of all dangerous criminal aliens who threaten public safety. It's a very strong, powerful act. It's called the Laken-Riley Act. So Allison and Lauren, America will never, ever forget our beautiful Laken Hope Riley.
Welcome to the channel.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Since taking office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration crackdown in American history, and we quickly achieved the lowest numbers of illegal border crossers ever recorded. Thank you. The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation, we must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president. Thank you. Joe Biden didn't just open our borders, he flew illegal aliens over them to overwhelm our schools, hospitals, and communities throughout the country. Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed. Now, just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great liberation of America. But there still is much work to be done. Here tonight is a woman I have gotten to know, Alexis Nungari from Houston. Wonderful woman. Last June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious Jocelyn, walked to a nearby convenience store. She was kidnapped, tied up, assaulted for 2 hours under a bridge, and horrifically murdered. Arrested and charged with this heinous crime are 2 illegal alien monsters from Venezuela, released into America by the last administration through their ridiculous open border. The death of this beautiful 12-year-old girl and the agony of her mother and family touched our entire nation greatly. Alexis, I promised that we would always remember your daughter, your magnificent daughter, and earlier tonight I signed an order keeping my word to you. One thing I have learned about Jocelyn is that she loved animals so much. She loved nature. Across Galveston Bay, from where Jocelyn lived in Houston, you will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge, a pristine, peaceful 34,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis, moments ago, I formally renamed that refuge in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, if you would, may I have the order?
Everybody says shit about Trump. You can go, balance. Just balance. Just step off. Like, this guy's protecting, North America. He's just protecting it. Like, he's just, I don't give a fuck. People say shit all the time about Trump. Yeah, 10 years ago, he was a chauvinist that pulled and grabbed women by the, and he said inappropriate things when people were recording him because
Thank
he
you
was
very
in a
much.
position of power.
All
And they could take
three
advantage of
savages
it.
charged with Jocelyn and Lakin's murders were members of the Venezuelan prison gang, the toughest gang, they say, in the world, known as Tren de Aragua. 2 weeks ago, I officially designated this gang, along with MS-13 and the bloodthirsty Mexican drug cartels, as foreign terrorist organizations.
The whole society is just trying to opiate shit. People are like, oh well, I'm not affected by it, so it's okay, I guess. And they just walk past it forever wondering what the hell they're doing. That's what I just wonder.
They are now officially in the same category as ISIS, and that's not good for them. Countless thousands of these terrorists were welcomed into the U.S. by the Biden administration. But now every last one will be rounded up and forcibly removed from our country, or, if they're too dangerous, put in jails, standing trial in this country, because we don't want them to come back ever. With us this evening is a warrior on the front lines of that battle, Border Patrol Agent Roberto Ortiz. Great guy.
This is the shit we live in. I know, I've committed my life to making some changes. If I can just change one, I'll do my job. That's all I know I'm going to change. I have no idea what just happened.
In January, Roberto and another agent were patrolling by the Rio Grande near an area known as Cartel Island. Doesn't sound too nice to me. When heavily armed gunmen started shooting at them, Roberto saw that his partner was totally exposed, at great danger, and he leapt into action, returning fire and providing crucial seconds for his fellow agent to seek safety, just barely. I have some of the prints of that event, and it was not good. Agent Ortiz, we salute you for your great courage and for your line of fire that you took and for the bravery that you showed. We honor you, and we will always honor you. Thank you, Roberto, very much.
Fucked up our government. They fucked up everything in North America. This DEI.
Thank you, Roberto. And I actually got to know him on my many calls to the border. He's a great gentleman. The territory to the immediate south of our border is now dominated entirely by criminal cartels that murder, rape, torture, and exercise total control. They have total control over a whole nation, posing a grave threat to our national security. The cartels are waging war on America, and it's time for America to wage war on the cartels, which we are doing.
The causation of death after made that they write on your medical forms is drowning in cause of death drowning. It's not cause of death made. It's
5 nights ago, Mexican authorities, because of our tariff policies being imposed on them, think of this, handed over to us 29 of the biggest cartel leaders in their country. That has never happened before. They want to make us happy. First time ever.
He's cute. I don't know her
But
name.
we need Mexico and Canada to do much more than they've done, and they have to stop the fentanyl and drugs pouring into the USA. They're going to stop it. I have sent Congress a detailed funding request laying out exactly how we will eliminate these threats to protect our homeland and complete the largest deportation operation in American history, larger even than current record holder President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a moderate man, but someone who believed very strongly in borders. Americans expect Congress to send me this funding without delay so I can sign it into law. So,
choice, right?
Mr. Speaker, John Thune, both of you, I hope you're going to be able to do that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Mr. Leader, thank you. Thank you very much. And let's get it to me. I'll sign it so fast, you won't even believe it.
I just don't believe that people that are veterans. That's how our Canadians are helping
And as we reclaim our sovereignty, we must also bring back law and order to our cities and towns. In recent years, our justice system has been turned upside down by radical left lunatics.
Radical left lunatics.
Many jurisdictions virtually ceased enforcing the law against dangerous repeat offenders while weaponizing law enforcement against political opponents like me. My administration has acted swiftly and decisively to restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law, starting at the FBI and the DOJ. Pam, good luck. Cash, wherever you may be, good luck. Good luck. Pam Bondi.
Tomorrow I'm actually
good luck. So important. Going to do a great job. Cash, thank you. Thank you, Cash.
Cash, East Indian, running the FBI, youngest ever. Booyah.
They've already started very strong. They're going to do a fantastic job. You're going to be very proud of them. We're also once again giving our police officers the support, protection, and respect they so dearly deserve. They have to get it. They have such a hard, dangerous job, but we're going to make it less dangerous. The problem is the bad guys don't respect the law, but they're starting to respect it, and they soon will respect it. This also includes our great fire departments throughout the country. Our firemen and women are unbelievable people, and I will never forget them. And besides that, they voted for me in record numbers, so I have no choice.
He's going to release it, I think, in 2 or 3 Fridays from now. He's going to edit it and take the 3 weeks. I'm looking forward to it.
1 year ago this month, 31-year-old New York police officer Jonathan Diller, unbelievably wonderful person and a great officer,
over 507
was gunned down at a traffic stop on Long Island. I went to his funeral.
Like 200 watch hours.
The vicious criminal charged with his murder had 21 prior arrests, and they were rough arrests, too. He was a real bad one. The thug in the seat next to him had 14 prior arrests and went by the name of Killer. He was Killer. He killed other people, they say, a lot of them.
What is
I attended Officer Diller's service, and when I met his wife and 1-year-old son, Ryan, it was very inspirational, actually.
His 8-year-old
his widow's name is Stephanie, and she is here tonight. Stephanie, thank you very much, Stephanie. Thank you very much.
You released him after 3 hours.
Stephanie, we're going to make sure that Ryan knows his dad was a true hero, New York's finest, and we're going to get these cold-blooded killers and repeat offenders off our streets, and we're going to do it fast. Got to stop it. They get out with 28 arrests. They push people into subway trains. They hit people over the head, back of the head with baseball bats. We got to get them out of here. I've already signed an executive order requiring a mandatory death penalty for anyone who murders a police officer. And tonight I'm asking Congress to pass that policy into permanent law.
Has been charged with aggravated assault after stabbing his children.
I'm also asking for a new crime bill getting tough on repeat offenders while enhancing protections for America's police officers so they can do their jobs without fear of their lives being totally destroyed. They don't want to be killed. We're not going to let them be killed.
He was held after 26 hours. His children are now in production.
Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer. They don't want to be killed. We're not going to let them be killed. Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer. But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service. That was more than 6 years ago. Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make DJ's doctors believe his cancer likely came from a chemical he was exposed to when he was younger. Since 1975, rates of child cancer have increased by more than 40%. Reversing this trend is one of the top priorities for our new presidential commission to make America healthy again, chaired by our new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. With the name Kennedy, you would have thought everybody. With the name Kennedy, you would have thought everybody. How quickly they forget. How quickly they forget. Our goal is to get toxins out of our environment, poisons out of our food supply, and keep our children healthy and strong. As an example, not long ago, and you can't even believe these numbers, 1 in 10,000 children had autism, 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 36. There's something wrong. 1 in 36. Think of that. So we're going to find out what it is, and there's nobody better than Bobby and all of the people that are working with you. You have the best to figure out what is going on. Okay, Bobby, good luck. It's a very important job. Thank you. Thank you. My administration is also working to protect our children from toxic ideologies in our schools. A few years ago, January, little John and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl. Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January, who is here tonight and is now a courageous advocate against this form of child abuse. January, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You send your kid to school, and this happens. Can you hear me better now?
Stories like this are
I'm
why
not
shortly
talking
after
into
taking
the
office,
mic.
I signed an executive order banning public schools from indoctrinating our children with transgender ideology.
Is that better? Yeah, I'm talking far away
Also
from the
signed
mic.
an order to cut
I got
off all
this really
taxpayer
expensive
funding
mic
to
and
any
you gotta, like,
institution
talk like you're
that engages in the
giving it love or
sexual
something.
mutilation of our youth.
Mutilate my mic so people can hear me.
And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way
Joey, you the
God
fuck
made
are.
you. Because we're getting wokeness out of our schools and out of our military.
This is why I want to
and
move to the
it's
States.
already
This is why I
out,
don't want to be in Canada.
And it's out of our society. We don't want it. Wokeness is trouble.
Too much.
Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone. And we feel so much better for it, don't we? Don't we feel better?
100%.
Our service members won't be activists and ideologues. They will be fighters and warriors. They will fight for our country. And Pete, congratulations. Secretary of Defense, congratulations. And he's not big into the woke movement, I can tell you. I know him well. I am pleased to report that in January, the U.S. Army had its single best recruiting month in 15 years, and that all armed services are having among the best recruiting results ever in the history
Yeah, I
of
get
our
it, Sandy.
services.
My mom's
What a
88 too,
difference.
but luckily I've got a couple of really good sisters that live on the island where she is,
And you know,
I have
it was
adopted
just
this young boy who's
a few months
American,
ago
so I have the opportunity
where the
to
results
bounce.
were exactly the
and we're
opposite.
thinking
We
about
couldn't
doing it.
recruit
I'm very
anywhere. We couldn't recruit.
serious about
Now we're having the best
transitioning.
results just about that
My
we've
body,
ever had. What a tremendous
physically
turnaround.
across the border and
It's
calling
really
myself
a beautiful
American
thing to
after I
see.
get my green
People
card and
love
go
our
through the
country again. It's
processes.
very simple. They
And,
love our
you know,
country
if the
and they
government
love being
changes
in
up
our
here and it
military
goes back
again.
to crazy
So it's a great
coolness,
thing, and
then
thank you
I'll come
very
back
much.
and
Great
get some
job.
basic training. Can't deal with it. For my children, I think
We're
it's the
joined
only thing
tonight
to do. I have
by a young
17-year-old
man,
and a
Jason
20-year-old.
Hartley, who knows the weight of that call of duty. Jason's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather all wore the uniform. Jason tragically lost his dad who was also a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy when he was just a boy, and now he wants to carry on the family legacy of service. Jason is a senior in high school, a 6-letter varsity athlete, a really good athlete, they say, a brilliant student with a 4.46, that's good, GPA. And his greatest dream is to attend the U.S. Military Academy at West Point.
You want to go there? Yeah, he looks like it. Yeah, money's a big issue right nowadays. 31's a good age. Is he married yet, or is he hooked up yet?
And Jason, that's a very big deal getting in. That's a hard one to get into. But I'm pleased to inform you that your application has been accepted. You will soon be joining the Corps of Cadets.
This has probably been the longest ever address to Congress.
Thank you. Jason, you're going to be on the long gray line, Jason. As Commander-in-Chief, my focus is on building the most powerful military of the future. As a first step, I'm asking Congress to fund a state-of-the-art Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland, all made in the USA.
It's insane. Cost just doesn't make sense. Guam is a beautiful place.
Ronald Reagan wanted to do it long ago, but the technology just wasn't there, not even close. But now we have the technology. It's incredible, actually. And other places they have it. Israel has it. Other places have it. And the United States should have it too, right, Tim, right? They should have it too. So I want to thank you. But it's a very, very important. This is a very dangerous world. We should have it. We want to be protected, and we're going to protect our citizens like never before. To boost our defense industrial base, we are also going to resurrect the American shipbuilding industry, including commercial shipbuilding and military shipbuilding. And for that purpose, I am announcing tonight that we will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America where it belongs. We used to make so many ships. We don't make them anymore very much, but we're going to make them very fast, very soon. It will have a huge impact. To further enhance our national security, my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it.
I think this is kind of stupid. I mean, Gulf of America, Panama Canal.
Just today, a large American company announced they are buying both ports around the Panama Canal and lots of other things having to do with the Panama Canal and a couple of other canals. The Panama Canal was built by Americans for Americans, not for others, but others could use it. But it was built at tremendous cost of American blood and treasure. 38,000 workers died building the Panama Canal.
Yep.
They died of malaria. They died of snake bites and mosquitoes. Not a nice place to work. They paid them very highly to go there, knowing there was a 25% chance that they would die. The most expensive project also that was ever built in our country's history, if you bring it up to modern day costs. It was given away by the Carter administration for $1, but that agreement has been violated very severely. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
Oh, there we go.
And we have Marco Rubio in charge. Good luck, Marco. Now, we know who to blame if anything goes wrong.
Oh, wow.
Marco's been amazing, and he's going to do a great job. Think of it. He got 100 votes. You know, he was approved with actually 99, but the 100th was this gentleman, and I feel very certain. So let's assume he got 100 votes. And I'm either very, very happy about that or I'm very concerned about it. But he's already proven. I mean, he's a great gentleman. He's respected by everybody, and we appreciate you voting for Marco. He's going to do a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you. He's doing a great job. Great job. And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security. And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We will keep you safe. We will make you rich, and together we will take Greenland to heights like you have never thought possible before. It's a very small population, but very, very large piece of land and very, very important for military security. America is once again standing strong against the forces of radical Islamic terrorism. 3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members and countless others in the Abbey Gate bombing during the disastrous and incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not that they were withdrawing, it was the way they withdrew. Perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Tonight, I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice.
A whole pile of them, and they're all wearing pink sweaters or something. I wonder if they're just angry with Trump.
And I want to thank especially the government of Pakistan for helping arrest this monster. This was a very momentous day for those 13 families who I actually got to know very well, most of them, whose children were murdered, and the many people that were so badly, over 42 people, so badly injured on that fateful day in Afghanistan. What a horrible day. Such incompetence was shown that when Putin saw what happened, I guess he said, wow, maybe this is my chance. That's how bad it was. Should have never happened. Grossly incompetent people. I spoke to many of the parents and loved ones, and they're all in our hearts tonight. Just spoke to them on the phone. We had a big call. Every one of them called, and everybody was on the line, and they did nothing but cry with happiness. They were very happy, as happy as you can be under those circumstances. Their child, brother, sister, son, daughter was killed for no reason whatsoever. In the Middle East, we're bringing back our hostages from Gaza. In my first term, we achieved one of the most groundbreaking peace agreements in generations, the Abraham Accords. And now we're going to build on that foundation to create a more peaceful and prosperous future for the entire region. A lot of things are happening in the Middle East. People haven't been talking about that so much lately with everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. But a lot of things are happening in the Middle East. It's a rough neighborhood, actually. I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict, With no end in sight, the United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense. With no security, with no anything. Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes. $2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that. They're Russian young people. They're Ukrainian young people. They're not Americans, but I want it to stop. Meanwhile, Europe has sadly spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine, by far. Think of that. They've spent more buying Russian oil and gas than they have defending. And we've spent perhaps $350 billion, like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened. And they've spent $100 billion. What a difference that is. And we have an ocean separating us, and they don't. But we're getting along very well with them, and lots of good things are happening. Biden has authorized more money in this fight than Europe has spent by billions and billions of dollars. It's hard to believe that they wouldn't have stopped it and said at some point, come on, let's equalize. You got to be equal to us. But that didn't happen. Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you. I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
My back is sore. My back's killing me. My hand is numb from my neck injury, and I'm happy this war's going to stop.
Wouldn't that be beautiful?
So happy this place stops. This stupid.
It's time to stop this madness. It's time to halt the killing. It's time to end this senseless war. If you want to end wars, you have to talk to both sides. Nearly 4 years ago, amid rising tensions, a history teacher named Mark Fogel was detained in Russia and sentenced to 14 years in a penal colony. Rough stuff. The previous administration barely lifted a finger to help him. They knew he was innocent, but they had no idea where to begin. But last summer, I promised his 95-year-old mother, Malphine, that we would bring her boy safely back home. After 22 days in office, I did just that, and they are here tonight.
God, like this, like, how can you be so left and divided that you're angry at this guy still? I'm sorry. Buddy called me from Seattle last night, pissed off at Trump, he hates him. And he's like, how can you hate this guy? I mean, he said, he's a liar. I'm like, lies about what? Did that?
To Mark and his great mom, we are delighted to have you safe and sound and with us. As fate would have it, Mark Fogel was born in a small rural town in Butler, Pennsylvania. Have you heard of it?
Butler, Pennsylvania.
Where his mother has lived for the past 78 years. I just happened to go there last July 13th for a rally. That was not pleasant. And that is where I met his beautiful mom right before I walked onto that stage. And I told her I would not forget what she said about her son. And I never did I? Never forgot. Less than 10 minutes later, at that same rally, gunfire rang out, and a sick and deranged assassin unloaded 8 bullets from his sniper's perch into a crowd of many thousands of people. My life was saved by a fraction of an inch, but some were not so lucky. Corey Comparator was a firefighter, a veteran, a Christian, a husband, a devoted father, and above all, a protector. When the sound of gunshots pierced the air, it was a horrible sound.
I don't understand.
Corey knew instantly
all
what
the
it
Canadians
was and
up
what
here
to do.
just hate him, and there's
He threw himself on top of his wife
people have
and
to
daughters
understand Trump's bit,
and
like,
shielded
he's
them
crazy,
from
right?
the
Like,
bullets
he talks out of his arse
with his
most
own
of the
body.
time, and his ego is like in
Corey
totally
was
inflamed.
hit really hard.
And when he tries to,
You know the story from there. He
negotiate,
sacrificed
he goes
his
for
life
the
to save
juggler at all
theirs.
times. You can't.
Two
that's
others,
just the
very
way some
fine
people
people,
are.
were also
I like people like
seriously
him
hit.
because I get hired by people
But
that don't know how to deal
thankfully,
with
with the help of
But it's
two
easy to
great
deal with him.
country
Just let him calm
doctors,
down. Talk to him, listen to him.
we thought they were
He'll
gone
come
and they
to
were
his
saved.
senses.
So
He'll
those
meet you
doctors
halfway.
had
But
great
this
talent.
is just the way he is. He comes out
We're
strong.
joined by Corey's wife, Helen, who was his high school sweetheart, and their 2 beloved daughters, Allison and Kaylee. Thank you.
People have died in the last 4 years that he's recognizing in their life. We just went through a war.
To Helen, Allison, and Kaylee, Corey is looking down on his 3 beautiful ladies right now, and he is cheering you on. He loves you. He is cheering you on. Corey was taken from us much too soon, but his destiny was to leave us all with a shining example of the selfless devotion of a true American patriot. It was love like Corey's that built our country, and it's love like Corey's that is going to make our country more majestic than ever before.
Facts.
I believe that my life was saved that day in Butler for a very good reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. I believe that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. From the Patriots of Lexington and Concord
His kids say
to
that
the
he's
heroes
never been
of Gettysburg
more
and
on
Normandy,
fire
from
in
the
their whole life
warriors
watching
who
him.
crossed the Delaware
He's
to the
only- Maybe he's
trailblazers who
smoking
climbed
meth.
the Rockies, and from the legends who
Maybe he's on the
soared
meth.
at Kitty Hawk to the astronauts who touched the moon. Americans have always been the people who
Smoking the
defied
good
all
crack.
odds,
Giving all the rest
transcended
to the
all
junkies.
dangers, made the most extraordinary
Joking,
sacrifices,
people.
and did whatever it took to defend our children, our country, and our freedom. And as we have seen in this chamber tonight, that same strength, faith, love, and spirit is still alive and thriving in the hearts of the American people. Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free, and we will fight for it till death. We will never let anything happen to our beloved country, because we are a country of doers, dreamers, fighters, and survivors. Our ancestors crossed a vast ocean, strode into the unknown wilderness, and carved their fortunes from the rock and soil of a perilous and very dangerous frontier. They chased our destiny across a boundless continent. They built the railroads, laid the highways, and graced the world with American marvels like the Empire State Building, the mighty Hoover Dam, and the towering Golden Gate Bridge. They lit the world with electricity, broke free of the force of gravity, fired up the engines of American industry, vanquished the communists, fascists, and Marxists all over the world, and gave us countless modern wonders sculptured out of iron, glass, and steel. We stand on the shoulders of these pioneers who won and built the modern age, these workers who poured their sweat into the skylines of our cities, these warriors who shed their blood on fields of battle and gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. Now it is our time to take up the righteous cause of American liberty, and it is our turn to take America's destiny into our own hands and begin the most thrilling days in the history of our country. This will be our greatest era. With God's help, over the next 4 years, we are going to lead this nation even higher, and we are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization ever to exist on the face of this earth. We are going to create the highest quality of life, build the safest and wealthiest and healthiest and most vital communities anywhere in the world. We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we are going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond.
I still don't believe that they're going to be able to do that one. Believe that one when they release the documents about who landed
And through
on
it
the
all,
moon
we are
first.
going to rediscover the unstoppable power of the American spirit. And we are going to renew unlimited promise of the American dream. Every single day, we will stand up and we will fight, fight, fight for the country our citizens believe in.
Fight, fight,
and
fight.
For the country our people deserve. My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future, because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Look at all of them leave, so all the wokies are just out. And they respect them enough. They sat there and they listened. God bless.
Yes.
And that appears to conclude an hour and 40-some-odd minute speech by the president. It's the longest speech of its kind. President Trump moved through a flurry of the actions he's taken in the first 43 days of his administration: deportations, tariffs, ending environmental regulations, reinstating merit-based hiring, revoking diversity and inclusion measures. He blamed the Biden administration at several turns in a way that presidents don't usually in these kinds of speech. He praised Elon Musk and the efforts of his department. And I would say, just as a final note, he gave the speech to half the room, the Republican half tilting his body because the Democrats were having none of it. But as a final note, I'd note that while voters say that lowering prices is their key issue, it was arguably the thing that got him elected, he spent very little of the speech on that, and indeed, he devoted more direct attention and detail to the issue, to transgender issues, than he did to lowering consumer prices.
Right you are, John. Couple thoughts here. How'd you like to be Alyssa Slotkin tonight? The Michigan senator is set to give the Democratic response. She's been waiting, I'm going to guess, impatiently, because she's going to go next, and it's going to be late and fewer people will see it. The divide in American politics on full display. 3 minutes after he declared that America is back, Democrats started booing and yelling, and that's when Congressman Al Green, Democrat of Texas, was then singled out as being too loud and out of order and unruly, and so the speaker ordered him removed.
Cool.
Just an unbelievable moment. I mean, you remember when
So what did you
Obama
think,
was speaking
Sandy?
back in 08,
out of 10.
and back then the
crazy,
congressman from
how
South
crazy
Carolina
is he out of 10?
yelled out, Joe Wilson yelled out, "You lie," and we were all shocked
And then
by that.
how
Tonight,
forgiving
Trump
is he
kept
out of
going,
10?
didn't miss a beat, and continued to list his
10
laundry
out of
list of
10.
accomplishments. And as you say, John, he didn't say that much about the economy. You're going to have to wonder if that was a missed opportunity.
Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan is here. Margaret.
Well, John and Maurice, this really felt like a campaign rally speech, more slogan than substantive policy. Even down to referring to Joe Biden as the worst president in history. You were very diplomatic, John, when you said words that you don't often hear in these chambers like that. These were very raucous lawmakers. The Democratic side thinly attended. You saw pink shirts. You saw signs up protesting Elon Musk, mentioning cuts to Medicaid. That's a reference to a fight in Congress they're about to have over spending and cuts to come. He also, in his speech, the president did ask on the economic front American farmers to bear with him, a reference there to the tariff fight that may escalate with China, Canada, and Mexico. He referred to the Afghanistan withdrawal that he negotiated by saying that he has gotten Pakistan to agree to send one of the terrorists who carried it out here. He had a number of announcements like that, calling people out in the audience, always the showman, and he did that here tonight. But he also, interestingly, made some policy announcements. He said he wants to repeal this bipartisan bill that has this massive investment in computer chips, things that have to do with competition with China. It was interesting that he chose in the chamber tonight to go there.
Around and wait.
Wondering what it was like on the floor tonight. Scott McFarlane, you are there. Give us a peek, Scott.
Yeah, Maurice, it was a horribly tense feeling in this chamber at moments. After Congressman Green of Houston was ejected, there was this loud, visceral, ugly screaming inside the chamber, directed at Mr. Green, then directed between both parties and each other. There was another moment when Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury of New Mexico was holding up a white sign that said, "This is not normal." A Republican snatched the paper from her hand and threw it across the room. And then there were the protests from some House Democrats. One after another, they walked out mid-speech. At some point, some of them turned their backs on the president, waited there a moment, then departed. Among those who left, Maxwell Frost of Florida, Jasmine Crockett of Texas, but also there were those empty seats that were so noticeable as the protest continued. And John, Maurice, and Margaret, first time I can remember a State of the Union where the minority party didn't stand once for anything.
Scott McFarlane there reporting from the hall. It was also notable, Scott, since you've covered the January 6th prosecutions and also the fallout from it, that the president spoke at length about trusting and protecting law enforcement officers. He, of course, pardoning those in the January 6th attack on the Capitol that attacked officers as well.
He's about to walk out the door that those rioters tried to enter January 6, 2021. He's about to walk out that very door.
The president mentioned his predecessor a lot during the congressional address, and Weijia Zhang is at the White House. Weijia, this was as much of a campaign speech as you can have in that, or at least as we've ever seen in that venue.
Yeah, there were so many points, John, where he sounded like candidate Trump and not President Trump. It's one thing to lay the blame on the Biden administration to explain why we are in this situation with the economy. His advisors have been saying we've only been here for 6 weeks. But the real issue here is what he is going to do about it. And White House officials said that Trump would lay out a specific plan and talk about all the things that his team would be doing to bring down prices. But the things he talked about were things that were not new and things that require time. And we know that when it comes to economic policy, time is not on a president's side. side when people are expecting immediate relief. So he talked about domestic energy production. He talked about waste, fraud, and abuse. And he talked about dealing with the bird flu. But John, he did not really answer what he's doing right now to bring down the prices.
Okay, Weijia Jiang at the White House, thank you. And coming up, the Democratic response to the president's address to Congress. You are watching CBS News.
I think I asked direct questions. I don't know that they're tough questions per se. When do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives? So you would encourage Democrats to work with Donald Trump on an issue like health care. That's the role of Face the Nation, to focus on the issues at hand. That means a civil conversation with perspective.
Sunday morning, Wicked Oscar nominee Cynthia Erivo. A few words from Flo, plus 100 years of The New Yorker. Listen for the trumpet.
It was almost like being face to face with the devil.
Women riding bicycles dismembered.
She just vanished.
48 hours reports. I fought and fought.
911, what is your emergency?
She disappeared off the face of the earth. Ever think in your wildest dreams someone might want to kill you?
This almost became a game of psychological warfare.
You're caught. You're gonna go down.
Stream 48 hours, 24/7. CBS Sunday night.
Here we go.
The ultimate tradition
I'm out of
continues.
speakers. I move that the House now stand adjourned.
America's longest-running news magazine show is back
For 60 minutes! 60 minutes.
with a new season.
Hey, let's go. If you're willing to talk about anything, I'm open to all of it. Ask me the hard-hitting questions. So how do you get over the nerves? Honestly, it's a whole bunch of mind
The most influential people.
Who's the best coach in college football?
Let me see a mirror so I can look at it.
Are you a billionaire yet?
None of your business. Ain't you trying to get me robbed?
Investigative journalism.
Am I getting a real...
There we go. Just give me a second, Cracker Jack. I want to listen to Well, friends, I think that's it. Yeah, we're over. We're out. God bless. And